So in this update, there are some changes to some game passes. So in the update log, it mentions that the previous Halloween event tower will return as a game pass until November 5th, 2025. The Harvester Tower, the Slasher, has been extended to November 5th, 2025 as well. So that sort of implies that the Hallowpunk, a tower which was/is on sale for 299 Robux, will go off sale pretty soon, since it says that these game passes will return until the 25th of October 2025. However, that's not the case. You can still buy the Hallowpunk game pass, as you can see here, but you can also buy the Slasher game pass as per usual. I also did forget to mention in the Slasher review update that the amount of placement of the Slasher Tower has been reduced from 12 to 8. I don't know why I forgot to say that, but fair enough. However, interestingly enough, if you were to buy the Harvester Game Pass, you would actually also get the Lunar skin, which is interesting because that was a legacy from obviously the Lunar New Year event, or ish. It was a sale more or less, where I believe the Harvester and the Hallowpunk returned as game passes, but if you were to buy the Harvester game pass, you would get the Lunar skin, and I think if you bought the Hallowpunk game pass, you would get the Lunar skin as well. However, surprisingly, if you buy the Hallowpunk game pass, it doesn't seem like you get the Lunar skin. But if you were to buy the Harvester Game Pass, you actually do get the Lunar skin for the Harvester. Now, I actually haven't seen anyone claim that to get the Lunar skin with the Hallowpunk. I'm not sure how many people have actually bought it. But if you bought the Hallowpunk Game Pass and you actually did get the Lunar skin, please let me know. But certainly with the Harvester Tower, people who bought the Harvester Tower Game Pass in this update also got the Lunar skin, which is again very interesting because when the Harvester Tower was first released, you didn't get the Lunar skin as you would expect because the Lunar skin was released after the Harvester was added. But that does mean that actually this value of Game Pass, because the Game Pass I think during the Hex Game event was the same price, you actually get more value in this Game Pass, plus you get a skin that is no longer orb attainable. The Lunar crates you can't get anymore. If you had some, and then you bought the Harvester Tower, ordinarily you would have thought, oh wow, I bought the Lunar crate and then I'm going to use it for the Harvester Tower. However, you don't need to, because you get the Lunar skin for free, which is very interesting. This isn't the first time that a skin has been associated with a Game Pass. The only other time that I can think of is the Executioner. When the Executioner was first sold as a Game Pass, you could get the Eclipse skin as well. So basically what would happen is anyone who owned the Executioner at the time of the Eclipse skin being released, which was a day after the Solar Eclipse event ended, that included the Game Pass and the people who triumphed night 4 of the Solar Eclipse event, they would get the Eclipse skin for the Executioner. However, the skin would still be associated with the Executioner up to until 2023. So if you bought the Executioner Game Pass in, I believe, 2 subsequent sales after the Solar Eclipse event, you would get the Eclipse skin. However, you no longer get the Eclipse skin if you buy the Executioner Game Pass whenever it goes back on sale. Not since 2023 at least. So it took a year for the developers to actually fix it. So from the 23rd of November 2023, you no longer get the Eclipse skin. And the Eclipse skin was like one of those freebie skins that you get from like triumphing the event, which is I think the only freebie skin you actually got, but it's only backdated to 2023. And a similar thing applies to the Harvester Tower, except it only applies with the Game Pass. And if you got it through the badge or you bought the Game Pass originally during the Hexscape event, you did not, or you do not, get the Lunar skin for the Harvester Tower. Now, when it comes to the Game Passes, the Harvester Tower does appear here, which is a recent update. Previously, it was only the Slasher as a big icon, not the Harvester Tower. I guess that they fixed that issue. However, you can't gift the Harvester, and I would imagine if you gifted the Harvester, you might get the Lunar skin, since I don't think it's actually associated with the Game Pass. I think it's just associated with having the Harvester Tower itself when you buy it through a Game Pass. Although that being said, I can't really trust developer products. But, interesting enough, I don't think you can gift the Slasher. No, so even though the developers have recently added the Slasher as a giftable tower, you can't gift it to anyone because I don't think they coded it correctly. You can gift like other towers, like, well, you can't give this item to this player. It just indicates that this player already has the item. It's just that with the Slasher Tower, it's an invalid gift because I think they haven't set it up correctly. In my previous videos talking about Game Passes, I also said that the Jester Tower was back on sale as well, even though the developers didn't announce it. I was wrong. They did announce it on the 1st of October 2025. So as you can see here, they did indeed announce it. So my bad, I just forgot that the Jester Tower was actually being sold. Although interestingly enough, there is no timestamp for this. So it looks like I would assume that the Jester Tower would probably be on sale for as long as the other Game Passes. So up until November 5th. Although that being said, the Halopunk Game Pass is still on sale. It's not appearing here, but it is still on sale, and you can still buy it. And it does indeed appear on the homepage store. So you got the Slasher, you got the Halopunk, you got the Harvester, and you got the Jester Tower. They haven't updated the icon for the Slasher Tower, interestingly enough. You can still buy it, but the developers haven't said that this has been officially extended. So who knows when this goes off sale. Oh, would you look at that? I abandoned my accounts for like 2 minutes, and look, I'm crowded by people in the lobby. This is why I don't play public lobbies, but I had to see the gifting part of things because there was no one in my own private server. Now, Night 3 is announced to be on the 30th of October 2025 at 5 PM EST, which is actually an hour before the time that the release for the next event was previously. Or is it? Actually, I think I've actually gone back in time. Oh yes, I forgot. So, because of daylight saving time going back for me, it's actually an hour earlier for me. Actually, it's going to be released at 9 PM. Hadn't it been for daylight saving time going back, it would have been at the same time, 10 PM for me. But it is the same time, 5 PM EST. Well, ET actually, Eastern time. After a lot of hard work, our team has been able to make a major breakthrough with optimization. It was a lot harder than we thought. Thanks, Roblox, for giving us a really hard time. I don't really see the optimization. I lag out actually more now in Night 3. Like, the game just freezes for like a long period of time. Not a long period of time, for like half a second maybe, when it didn't previously. I guess that is a way to maybe reduce the amount of load on your device, but certainly for me, I don't think it is optimized. I think it's actually slightly worse. The developers did announce these changes previously on the 24th of October, although apparently there might have been a new update, I'm not sure. Also, the developers pushed out a hotfix that fixes a few things, like the game prematurely ending on wave 25 for Night 2, which was an issue, because there was a poll recently saying, do you die, basically, at the start of wave 25 in Night 2, 5 hours left. It was like 24 hours ago, so actually before the developers made this bug fix. And 61 people said yes. I didn't personally, and I reached wave 25 twice before this update, but certainly 60% of people seeing the losing screen when you start wave 25, that's a big issue. The developers say that the Pursuit UI should be fixed alongside some other minor bugs. They don't actually elaborate on these minor bugs, so we're just going to have to go fishing for those minor bugs. But I wonder if the hacker UI thing is working. The developers have also claimed to have fixed the Null Crook Boss skin, the Null Ghost Engineer skin, the Null Soldier skin, and the Cursed Minigunner skin. So I'll make a new video updating you on the 16 new skins that you get in the Battle Pass. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to the new map for Night 2, Banlands, you actually get less gumdrops compared to Outpost 16 per wave. So in Outpost 16 you got 8 per wave for easy mode, whereas in Banlands you got 7, whereas in Outpost 16 you get 18 in hard mode and 15 in hard mode for Banlands. However, the total amount of gumdrops has actually increased, so 375 versus 360 for hard modes respectively, and 160 versus 175 for easy mode. So this shows us that you get more if you were to grind out, say, the logbooks in Banlands. But if you were cost efficient or time efficient for your time, then it's probably the case where grinding out gumdrops in Night 1 is probably going to be better. Although with that being said, Fallen Mode is probably still the best way of grinding out gumdrops, but you don't get any chances at re-rolling the logbook, which, bear in mind, for easy mode is going to be a slog, given that it's less than 10% chance of getting the logbook, and I still haven't got the Null Commander logbook, nor have I got the Null Guardian logbook. Oh, I don't even think I've got the Null Guardian clone logbook either. Yeah, and the developers still have not fixed the issue where in the logbook files, the index, the icons, there's just default placeholder cat images. I think the developers should probably professionalize this placeholder image and not just have a cat. It looks a little bit unprofessional, but I guess they have more important things on their mind. Now, for the 2 tower nerfs in this update, the developers have made a minor change to the Golden Scout, but they've made some massive changes to the Mercury base. And actually, I released my video on the Mercury base update after Night 2, which probably was a mistake, but oh well, too bad. At least it goes over the state of the game for the Mercury base back then. But with the Golden Scout, apparently what they've done is they've reduced the placement limit for it from infinity, or whatever the max limit is, probably 50, if you have the skills enabled, plus solo mode, because that would be 50 towers. And what they've done is they reduced it to 16, which is the second Golden Tower actually to be rate limited. The previous one was the Golden Minigunner, which I believe is rate limited to 12, but the regular Minigunner isn't, and the regular Scout isn't. They've not changed. So if I were to place down 16 Golden Scouts, you can see that, I can only place down 16 scouts. Very cool. Now, apparently, upon release, the Golden Scout wasn't actually rate limited, but the developers probably made a shadow update, which actually imposed these changes to the Golden Scouts. And I think 16 Golden Scouts isn't too bad of a number. Like, that's more than half outside of solo mode, and even in solo mode, 16 Golden Scouts, that's probably a majority of the tower slots that you have. And really, the only place where I see this becoming an issue is probably night 1 grinding, because you couldn't just spam one tower to win the entire thing. You now have to bring other towers, which I guess is fair enough, but many people are complaining that, well, why don't you limit the Golden Soldier, for example, which acts very similarly to the Golden Scout? Well, actually, the Golden Scout occupies a slightly different niche. It does lead and the mid game, whereas the Golden Soldier is flying plus slightly earlier in the game. Plus, the Scout is a hard hitting tower, whereas the Golden Soldier sprays a lot of bullets with low damage. So yes, soloing Night 1 now requires some thought into other towers. If you have the Golden Scouts, I mean, it's still pretty easy to beat Night 1 in solo mode, even with these changes. As for the Merc base, the changes here is that levels 3 and level 5 are more expensive. So previously, level 3 cost 6,500, whereas now it costs 7,500. So that means at level 3, the total cost is now 14,350. At level 4, it's now 24,350 compared to 13,350 and 23,350 previously. Meanwhile, at level 5, the previous cost was 12,650, whereas now the new cost is 13,500, meaning that for level 5, the cost has increased to 37,850, and level 6, the cost has increased to 73,850, whereas previously it was 36,000 and 72,000. Overall, these are just niggling changes, like a $1,000 increase and like a $2,000 increase from levels 3 and level 5 respectively in total cost is not that much of a big deal. But if you looked at cost efficiency, I guess, yeah, the Merc base is slightly more expensive, but there are some other changes to the Merc base. Now, let's go over the unit changes now, and the simplest one actually is the Riot Guard, because the Riot Guard has no changes. Very cool. But for the Field Medic, there is some minor changes. So at max level, the amount of health that it has been nerfed from 750 to 700. Please ignore the extra health that it has because of the skills. This is still a buff from when it was previously, which was 600, which was before the Null and Void update. So still overall, it is a slight buff, but I guess the developers didn't want the Field Medic lasting as long, healing these towers or these units as long as possible. However, with that being said, the developers have actually buffed the Field Medic overall, I feel like, because at level 5, the maximum amount of targets that it can have has increased from 6 to 8, whereas at level 6, the maximum amount of targets that it can have has increased from 8 to 10, and I think that's better, even though the level 6 Field Medic is slightly weaker in terms of its health. By the way, there is no change to the level 5 Field Medic, it still remains the same at 300 health, or like 275 health, I think. So yeah, overall, I think the Field Medic has been slightly buffed. However, now for the Rifleman. For the Rifleman, between level 3 to 5, the Rifleman only deals 11 damage right now, where comparatively previously it dealt 12 damage. I think this means there's a slight reduction in DPS for the Rifleman. You're going from 36.72 DPS to, I roughly estimate, to be about 34 DPS. So not a major change per se, but if an enemy has defense, then yeah, the DPS for the Rifleman is slightly reduced. As for the level 6 Rifleman, its damage has decreased actually quite substantially from 30 to 25, and the spawn time, interesting enough, has increased from 35 seconds to 40 seconds, which, by the way, may I remind you that all the other previous levels for the Rifleman, their spawn time is 40 seconds as well. Now, this I estimate to reduce the DPS for the Rifleman from like 91.81 DPS to probably about 80 or even 75 DPS, meaning that actually the Grenadier probably has more DPS than the Rifleman now. Plus, the spawn rate for the Rifleman is now actually, I think, on par or even slightly above that of the Grenadier. So I don't think the Rifleman is useful anymore. Like previously, I guess the Rifleman was useful against hidden and it couldn't be frozen. I don't know, how does a unit get frozen? I've never seen a unit get frozen. I mean, sure, I've seen the Pursuit get frozen, but I've never seen units themselves get frozen from their attacking ability. I guess it's really to counter Night 2 and Night 1, which have hidden curses, which the Merc base, when it comes to the Grenader can't see hidden, the Rifleman can, and I guess the Rifleman was a little bit too OP for their liking, so they decided to nerf it at levels 3 to 5 and level 6 independently. And in fact, the theory of this for Night 2 and Night 1 nerfing the Rifleman is even more substantiated with the Grenader. So the Grenader, between levels 3 to 5, its health has increased from 125 to 135, and its damage has actually decreased from 45 to 40, so a rebalance, but the Grenader can't see hiddens. But additionally, the spawn time for the Grenader has decreased from 37.5 seconds to 35 seconds, which I think is more in line with the level 2 Grenader, because the level 2 Grenader had a spawn time of 35 seconds, 3 to 5 had a spawn time of 37.5 seconds, and level 6 had a spawn time of 40 seconds. It doesn't make sense why, when you upgrade the Grenader, you increase the amount of time that it takes to spawn in. But, quite evidently, the Grenader has a lower spawning in time, interestingly, than the Rifleman. So if you were to replenish your units, or if you wanted to, then the Grenader would be better than the Rifleman, even though the Rifleman can only hit one enemy, whereas the Grenader can hit multiple. It doesn't make sense. And interestingly enough, at level 6, the health for the Grenader has increased from 300 to 325, the damage has been reduced from 80 to 75, the range has increased slightly from 22 to 22.5, and the spawn time has decreased from 40 seconds to 35 seconds. Again, lower than the Rifleman. A change that I don't think makes sense. I think the Rifleman should have a faster spawn rate than the Grenader, because the Rifleman can only hit one enemy, whereas the Grenader can hit multiple. I don't know why the Grenader spawns more quickly than the Rifleman, deals more damage than the Rifleman, and has more DPS than the Rifleman. It doesn't make sense. I guess the only thing that does make sense is that the Rifleman does have more range and can see hiddens, but even then, I don't think that's much of a change as well. So like, 22.5 range to 30 range, yeah, the Grenader can see quite far, but then again, I just think that the Grenader, plus it has more health as well, actually. In most circumstances, many people are going to be using the Grenader and not the Rifleman, and these changes just make sure that the Grenader is much more better than the Rifleman. So yeah, no situation where the Rifleman is useful, apart from when you need that slight advantage when it comes to hidden enemies and flying enemies.